Part 1. Report Generator. The report generator is a tool that you can purchase to help you glean information out of the replay file. The replay file is turned on by going to Setup, System Configuration, and then under Program Options, if you checkmark Enable Logging of Replay Data, then all of the data associated with each shot that you take, as long as this Enable Logging of Replay Data is turned on, will be stored in the replay file. And the replay file can get very large. I think right now my current replay file is somewhere around 1,269 targets. And to get the information out of that file of such large size is the task of the report generator. Next thing I'd like to show you would be to go up here to the Help. When I click on that, I'm going to click on Registration and Features. And in the dialog box that opens, if you have purchased the report generator, this in front of the report generator will have a check mark. Then, with those things in place, at any time that you would like, you can come to View, come down to Report Generator, click on it, and this opens up then the replay display box. And I'm going to go through briefly here some of the things that you can do. First of all, in the top we have the selection criteria. You can see that you can select a shooter, a layout, a gun, and a target. Further, you could come over here and you can pick out a from and to date area. And then finally another one called shot. And I'll describe that in a moment. Right at the moment when it has defaulted into here, we have Bob as the shooter. Therefore, all of the targets that are shown in the bottom portion right here, if I pull the scroll or the slider down the side, all of these targets have been shot by Bob. All right? And that's because right now our filtering says Bob, all layouts, all guns, and all targets. So right now we're seeing in this window down here everything that Bob has shot that is currently in the replay file. Now let's go back up here and click on Bob and notice that there are other shooters in here. If I highlight and select Danny, all of a sudden the information in this window changed, and now all of this information in here relates to Danny. Let me go on up and pick another one. Let me come down and click on shooter number 1. Shooter number 1 only has 4 targets in the entire out of the 1,269 targets that shooter 1 has taken. So you can see this is a filtering mechanism. So let me go back up here and I'm going to go ahead and leave Bob in there. Now, what else can I do to further filter information about Bob? I can decide which layouts I want to look at. When I open this window, all of the layouts that Bob has used to create all of the targets that you see down on the bottom will be shown in this window. And I can leave it on all targets or all layouts, or I can select a specific layout. Let me go ahead and select a specific layout, one here called Sporting Crossers, parentheses, Bobs. If I click on that, you saw this flash down in this area, and now it has changed the information in here because it is now not all of Bob's shots, but it is Bob's shots that he has taken with this particular layout. If I further then filter this down farther, I have my choice of all of Bob's guns or any one of the specific guns. So let's go through and see what this looks like. If I click on Skeet, notice all of the targets have gone away, indicating that when Bob was shooting Sporting Crossers layout, he did not use his Skeet gun. If I click on Sporting, he did not use his sporting gun. If I click on Trap Doubles, he didn't use that. If I click on Trap Handicap, he didn't use that gun. And so it turns out that even though it maybe doesn't make a lot of sense, Bob took all of these shots with his Trap Singles gun. But I might mention he probably had that gun set so that it was shooting like his sporting gun. So what we've done now by selecting these 4 criteria up here is we've said we want for you to extract out of the 1,269 targets, we want you to extract the ones that only relate to Bob, only relate to Sporting Crosser's layout, only when Bob used his trap singles gun, and finally the last thing is all targets. And what am I going to do here? Under these targets are the targets that are part of the Sporting Crosser layout. If we were to count these up, there are 16 different targets that could have been shot on the Crosser's layout, starting with the left to right 15-yard crosser, a left to right 20-yard crosser, on down to a left to right 50-yard crosser, and then starting up with right to left 15-yard crossers. Let's just go ahead and take a look at, of the targets that Bob has shot in this 1,269, which ones relate to specific targets within Sporting Crosser's parentheses Bob. So if I click on the 15-yard, there were only 2 of the 1,269 targets that were left to right 15-yard crossers. What about left to right 20-yard crossers? This was an area I was focusing on, and you're going to see that there are literally over 100 targets in here. Well over 100 targets. Then if we come down and look at left to right 25-yard crossers, none of these targets were taken. Were there any left to right 30 yards? No. And I'm not going to go on any farther in this, but my point in all of this is, let's suppose that we wanted to do an analysis on the 4 criteria: Bob, Sporting Crosser's Bob's layout, trap singles gun, target that he was working on was the left to right 20-yard crosser, and then we can further filter this down by dates, or we can just leave the window exactly the way it is. The first targets in my 1,269 targets was shot on May 12th, 2014, and the last one was shot on June 27th, 2014. But if I needed to narrow down my choices of what I wanted to analyze even farther, I could go ahead and go in here and change the date. And I can change the date either by clicking to the month that I want and then clicking the specific date, or I can literally come up here to the top and overtype whatever is highlighted. So if I wanted to make this the 4th month, I can overtype that. If I want to change this date to the 12th, I can type in 12, whatever I want to do. And finally, in the shot window, if we open this, what do we have? We have 3 choices: all shots, first shot, or second shot. What this is for is primarily in here because when you are shooting, for instance, trap doubles, and you're trying to analyze how your first shot, with the speed of your first shot, you don't want that data to be mixed up with the speed of your second shot. So if I were doing something about trap doubles, I would probably be selecting either the first shot, indicating that all of this information is related to the first shot of the pair, or I would have clicked the second shot, indicating that all of the targets are related to the second shot of the pair. And since in my criteria right here, the left to right 20-yard crosser is only a single target, notice that all of the target choices disappeared when I selected second shot. So for my case, I could either leave this in all shots or the first shot. And in this part 1 introduction, I'm going to come to a close at that point. I am going to point out down here that we have print capabilities. We can save as a PDF file, and we can go into statistics. That will be all covered for you in part number 2, and we will also show you what a typical report looks like. I hope that helps you.